Right, let's start today's session. So this is the first session of your Django. This is completely related to these sessions are related to completely Django and the REST API and then Flask. So 3 frameworks I'm going to cover in these sessions, and the duration of this course is 2.5 months. So these frameworks I'm going to cover in this session. So Django, REST API, and then Flask framework. First, we need to talk about Django because without having idea about Django, we can't go for REST API. Okay. So Django after REST API, we will start. After then, we will start with the Flask only. These are all completely Python-based frameworks. So duration of this course is minimum 2.5 months. It will take to complete Django, REST API, Flask. And in Django, I'm going to explain projects also. Okay, 2 to 3 projects I'm going to explain after completion of Django. Flask is the separate framework. To learn Flask, no need to have the idea about Django REST API. Only if you have a Python basics, Python knowledge, then it's easy to learn Flask. Flask is a micro framework. And most important thing I'm going to discuss with you, that is Django with completely projects. But before going to start learning Django, you must and should aware already Python. Those who are having Python knowledge, then you can proceed with Django. Here almost you are all my existing students, those who attended my Python classes. So you are ready to learn Django, but I'm speaking about out of the students, like out of my students, those who joined for exclusively Django. And I hope you have completed your Python, or at least you are in the middle of the Python. So then it's okay to learn Django. So today I'm going to give complete introduction of Django. Once we complete the Django lectures, REST API will begin, continuation session, same time only. And also Flask sessions also are going to be begin once we complete REST API. So our main topic is Django today onwards. So what is the prerequisite subject for learning Django means Python. At least you must and should aware of Python functions, Python data structures, Python classes, how to create class. Okay, why? Because in Django development, complete logic code we are going to write Python through only. All functions and classes, data structures we are going to use in Django. So Django is a framework. It's not a programming language. Okay, REST API also framework. Flask also framework. These are all Python based frameworks only. So to learn all these 3 frameworks, you must and should aware of Python already. Because these frameworks are implemented and created by using Python only. These frameworks are completely written in Python language. That's what you must and should aware of the Python only. So let's start with Django today. Our main topic is today, Django only. But as usual, so every day session is going to be recorded. Same recorded video we will upload at the end of the session. But first 4-5 days, this Django demo sessions will happen. Once demos completed, you will receive Django complete PDF and along with video only. Okay, but already who opted for my Python full stack course? So immediately today only you will receive completely Django material and session 1 Django recorded video. And those who are attending my demo sessions, those who are new to this Django sessions, and you should wait for your enrollment process. Once your enrollment process is over, then you will receive this Django material and videos. And every day your class time is from now onwards, Django, REST, Flask, all three frameworks I'm going to cover with same time, like 6:30 a.m. IST to 7:30 a.m. IST. So first 4 to 5 days, you should use the same link only. Zoom link, how you joined today. Once after 4-5 days, demos over, we will provide a short link, that is GoToMeeting link. On that link, you have to join from there onwards. So let's begin today's session. Okay. Yes. So Django. So what is Django? Point number 1. Django is a framework. Okay. Django is a framework. Which type of framework it is means Django is a web application development framework. Web application development framework here. What is framework generally? Framework is a collection of built-in classes or collection of built-in methods. Or we can say every framework is nothing but predefined rules and regulations. Already in the framework, they have mentioned clearly all rules and regulations. You have to follow that rules and regulations while developing applications. That is the framework. Framework is nothing but set of rules. Or framework is nothing but it's a collection of predefined classes, predefined methods. So within this framework only, you have to develop the application. So that is Django. Django is a framework. It's not a programming language. And what type of framework means it is? Django is a web application development framework. Web application development framework. So that what we can say, using Django, we can develop web applications. We can develop web applications only. So using Django, what kind of applications we can develop means web applications. Web application means the application which will provide services over the web is called web application. The application which will provide the services, over the web is called web application. Is called web applications only. Yes, normally in our daily life, we are going to use a lot of web applications for getting services from online. Okay, if you want to order something or if you want to purchase something, this kind of application, or if you want to do any banking transactions, all are in web applications only. So once web application hosted onto the server, and many people can able to access that web application by typing web address in the browser window of the URL. Okay, URL window. So the application which will provide services over the web is called web application. And next, Django framework completely written in Python programming language. Okay, Django framework completely written in Python language. So compulsory to learn Django, Python is recommended. Python is a prerequisite subject. Django framework completely written in Python language. So Django framework is a high-level open source Python-based framework. Django is a high level, yes, same like Python, high level and open source. The source code of Django is completely open source Python-based framework. And Django is having completely clear documentation. Okay, what is the official website of Django means? This is the official website of Django. You can visit this www.django.org. Django project.com. DjangoProject.com website. You know, the official website of Python is python.org. Same like this, we have to visit from here, this site, www.djangoproject.com. Djangoproject.com. Djangoproject.com. So you'll come to know that which version of Django we are going to use. I'll explain that all versions. So right now, you just visit this djangoproject.com. You'll be able to get this information. Djangoproject.com website. So this is the official website of Django, the framework for, okay, with the deadlines, perfectionist with deadlines, it is there, this slogan. Now you can see latest version of Django is, it is showing 4.1.7. And you can also get started with Django. Django makes it easier to build better web applications more quickly with less code only. Yes, that is the main importance of Django. We'll write less code and we can do more. And official documentation also, you can able to see this. This is the documentation section, the complete documentation. So you want to download documentation version 4.1, you can directly document content also, you can able to use next also. So completely, you can understand by reading this documentation section, no problem. This is the official website of Django, how we have seen official website of python.org. Even Django REST framework also, like REST API means Django REST framework, DRF also, that is also official, that is also having official website. So if you have any doubts in the middle of development of any web application with the Django, so you can go through this documentation, you can read it and understand it and implement it. Okay. But as a beginner level, it is typical to understand this complete documentation officially. So I'll here to make simplification of this complete documentation. So that's what I prepared my own documentation, which I am going to hand over it to you once we begin the sessions. Okay. Please mute your audio, all of you. Mr. Das. Please mute your audio while attending the sessions. If you have any questions, you can try to please post your question into chat box. So it will be useful. Now, this is the official website, djangoproject.com. Okay. Yes. So in the Django development, we are going to follow the principle that is called DRY principle. That means what? Do not repeat yourself. Do not repeat yourself. That meaning is what, you know? In the development of Django project with web application, so we need not to repeat the code. Instead of repeating the code, better to reuse the code. We are going to use this principle, don't repeat yourself. Instead of that, we are going to follow what? Reuse the code. Reuse the code means one time if you write the code and many times you can able to use. Okay, in Python, we have seen in many cases like using functions, reusability is there, modules reusability is there, and also object-oriented programming through also we achieve the reusability. But in Django, modules role is also very, very important. You know about Python modules. Module means every .py file act as a module. Once we write complete code in one .py file, that directly we can able to reuse onto other program. No? So same like in Django, modules are very, very important. So as I said, that Django is a framework. Framework means it's a collection of built-in libraries. Library means modules. Each and every module directly we can import on the top of the program. Directly you can reuse that. So Django will come with all built-in stuff that we have to use it. But if you want to use it, you have to know about Python script. Okay. So this is the basic story of Django. It's a framework. It's a web application development framework. So Django framework completely written in Python. So Python is a prerequisite for learning Django. And Django is a high level and open source Python based framework. It is official website of Django. Fine. And Django provides rapid application development facilities. Yes, Django will provide rapid application development facilities, development facilities, development facilities only. Yes, means faster rate of application development is possible with Django because it's having inbuilt stuff lot. The moment when we install Django framework, lot of built-in libraries will be available. That libraries through only we can able to start development of applications. This is, and most important thing I want to tell you here. This is very, very important because our complete lecture Django is completely depend on this only. So in our daily sessions, we are going to discuss about this only. So what is that means? Django is based on MVT pattern. Okay, MVT design pattern. Yes, MVT design pattern. This is the main important. Django is completely based on MVT pattern. In MVT pattern, it's a design pattern. In MVT pattern, M stands for model. Okay, V stands for view. So strictly remember, in our upcoming session, every day you are going to manage with model view templates only, so that you will understand slowly once I start coding part. Okay, development of application. T stands for template only. So model view template, MVT pattern. So Django is completely based on MVT pattern. Once we start development of web application, we are going to develop all the web applications using MVT pattern only. So model view template. But in other languages like .NET and Java, they'll have that their own pattern like design pattern, MVC pattern. So according to them, MVC means model view controller is there. But in Django, there is no controller. Django server itself acts as a controller only. Controller means who control everything. That is called controller. But we don't have any controller here. So Django itself, it acts as a controller. Okay, this is MVT, model view template only. So what is model here generally? Model represent what actually? Database. Strictly remember, model represent database. So before that, I need to tell you one thing. So using Django, we are going to develop web application ultimately. But every web application is completely client server based or not? Client server architecture based. Client means what? Who send request. Server means what? Who receive the request. Suppose in our daily life, we are going to open many websites. So www.somewebsitename.com. That means we are sending from the browser or not? We are sending request from the browser. Yes. So you are the client. Our browser act as a client. And that request directly go to concerned server. Server will take the request and process the request, and it will give the response to you. So who is going to receive the client request? Server only. Server is responsible to provide what response to the client only. So complete every web application development process is client server architecture based only. So client has to send the request, server should receive that request and process that request and display the response to the client machine only. So that's what in the client server architecture communication, compulsory database will be involved. Database means it is going to be stored the data permanently. Okay. So model means model represent always database. So in this model layer, 3 layers are there. MVT model layer, we are going to write database related code only. That's what it's represent database. I'm not saying model is nothing but database for your kind information. Model represents what? Database. Okay. Yes, model itself, no, it's not a database. Database means we use SQLite tree and as well as MySQL or MS SQL, any database you can use. View represent what actually? Python logic. Python logic it is. But most of the cases, view nothing but most of the students will get confused. View is nothing but presentations, or it is going to be view or display onto the page. No. View is nothing but Python logic. Template is nothing but what you know? UI. UI. This is called presentation, we can say. User interface. UI means what? User interface. That means presentation layer. This is presentation layer also, we can say that. Presentation layer. presentation layer. This is what actually Python business access layer, also we can call it as business access layer. And database is nothing but what actually here, database access layer. Database access layer. 3 layers are there in MBT pattern. Try to understand. Django is completely based on MVC design pattern. So M for model, model represent database. It also called as database access layer. Completely in this model, completely database activities only, database activities code only we are going to write. Only completely database related stuff. And now we can see MVT model view in the sense Python logic. So here completely we are going to write business logic layer, business objects creation. Means logic code is completely written in their view only. That is what belongs to Python logic. So you must and should aware of Python only compulsory. And what is template means? Template means HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Bootstrap, jQuery. In this area only, I'm going to discuss HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Bootstrap, jQuery, all basics, which is required for us. Template, UI, user interface. What end user is going to see onto the screen? Okay, the moment when he goes, he send request to the server. Once we get the response from the server, web page is going to be displayed to us. No, that is user interface. Presentation layer. So presentation layer, how we can implement means by using UI technologies. UI technologies means HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and so on, Bootstrap like this. So these are the 3 different layers are there. So what is the advantage of MBT patterns are? The advantage of MBT pattern is separation of concern. Separation of concern means what? Every layer is going to be separately developed. So database model represent database, that layer is completely designed and developed separately. And view represent business access layer, Python logic we will write separately, and completely template representation also separately. Separation of concern. Suppose any problem occurred in the business logic like Python logic, you can visit that Python logic view section. There only we can try to modify the view section. Then it will be easy to modify that. So without disturbing, without making effect into other layers, other 2 layers. That is the main advantage of separation of concern actually. So whatever we have a problem in view, then we are going to modify that code into view logic only, Python logic. But sometimes we are unable to communicate with the database. There is a problem with the database. Directly you can go to model, database access layer, and there we can modify the code and no, without making effect with other 2 layers actually. This is completely MBT pattern. Okay. So I'll show you diagrammatic representation also. What is this exactly pattern, how it will work. For example, let us consider this diagram. So for better understanding. So I'm creating here one simple diagram. So try to understand. So this is generally what actually here UI, user interface. So user interface means some design will be there, for example. So what is the design? Suppose user interface I'm taking like username and password. This is my design. Assume that HTML design this is, okay? Any design you can take, Bootstrap design or HTML design, whatever it is. This is user UI only. We have text boxes and we have buttons also here. One login button is available. This is login button. Okay, login. And this is called what actually? Presentation layer, or we can say UI, that means HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So presentation layer purpose UI technologies we are using, sir. HTML, CSS, JS, jQuery also possible, but jQuery outdated. No one is using jQuery. So Bootstrap, yes, Bootstrap is also part of UI. Bootstrap is the main advantage in our application implementation. Bootstrap mainly we are going to use. So these are the UI technologies making presentation layer. So end user, what he's going to see onto the screen final output, that is username and password. This is the UI, user interface. User interface means user can interact by entering username and password here. After that, he can click on login button. Once he click on login button, so directly where it will go here, here this is called database. Okay, database it is. This is called database, no? But look at this database is this one only, database. Database means what layer? Data access layer. Okay. So this is what actually templates are. According to what we can say MVT pattern, this will act as a template only. Template. Okay. But look at this here. This is what database. Whenever user is sending login request directly, it will go to what? Database only. Database is nothing but what layer? Database access layer. So database, it will represent what actually according to model only. In MVT pattern, model represent database. This is called database access layer, not presentation layer. Data access layer, we can say that. Data access layer, we can say that. This is. So here database, what database we are going to use, sir? According to template, we use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, Bootstrap or template. But database means what? Here we can use MySQL or we can say SQLite 3. Yes, SQLite 3 is integrated with Django. The moment when we create a Django application, automatically SQLite 3 database is integrated, sir. These are our databases. But sir, can we go for directly whenever the moment when I hit this login button directly it will go to database? No. So there is a view is there, view section. First, your request will go to where? View section. This is called view. View is nothing but what? Python logic. So look at this. This is the view. So this is Python logic. Python logic. Python logic means what actually? Business access layer it is. Business access layer. This is Python logic. This Python logic is business access layer. This is nothing but what actually? View logic. View is nothing but Python only. Python logic. This according to MVT pattern, this is called view section. First, when user is going to be interact with username and password with user interface, the moment when he click on submit button, that request goes to view only. Here we have written some logic code. No, this logic code will execute. It is a Python logic. This logic can be function based views we can write and class based views also we can write. Functions and classes both are required classes. Using this logic through, then view is going to be communicate with what? Model. Okay, model. So model is nothing but database. So it will check username and password is cross verified or not. It will check in MySQL side or SQLite side. Then model will give response to view. View will give response to finally end user output window. Here, if your login details correctly successfully, simply login successfully and it will redirect to home page or other page only. If something user is attempting username and password which is not already available in database, then immediately this model will give the indication to the view will indication to the presentation layer, finally output user interface, login failed, please try again, like that. This is how exactly MVT will work, sir. Okay, try to understand. Those who understand that MVT pattern, how the flow, then it will be easy to manage in entire Django session. 3 layers are there. Okay, so MVT pattern, M for model, V for view, T for template. Template means presentation layer. Okay, and strictly remember the template and model, T and M, or model and template can never interact with each other. They want interact with each other or communication with the database to front end to database. View logic is important. So here view is a Python logic. Without Python logic, you can't do any operations with Django framework. So hope you understand this. So MVT design pattern is very, very important. And our complete lectures are depending on this design pattern only. Once you know that the flow of this design pattern, MVT model view template, then complete Django easily we can able to understand. So there is not a big deal. But when compared to Python language, okay, here so many of my students are there. So we completed just recently Python core and advanced. So how you comfort there, and the same comfort you may not feel here in Django because it is somewhat complex architecture. So that's what you have to attend regular sessions. If you skip the sessions in the middle, you may not understand next session. So try to understand why I'm telling you. It's not look like Python. Even if in Python, 1 or 2 sessions, if you miss in the middle, then if you change the next concept extremely, then that will be easy understandable. But Django is not like that. Interrelated concepts will be there. If you attend today, then tomorrow you can understand properly. Or if you miss tomorrow and day after tomorrow session, you may not understand properly. That's not my responsible. So please be regular, at least in Django. So this will be clear. So to understand concepts clear, so I request you only, the thing is attend regular sessions and be practice, and practice, don't stop. If you stop the practice, then it will be trouble again. So this is MVT pattern, model view template. So we are using in our total Django, what I'm going to cover actually, Python logic, already you know that, and UI technologies, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, Bootstrap. And first few days, like demo sessions, 4 5 sessions completed. Okay, after completion of 4 5 session, and I'll keep this Django concepts side, and we will focus 1 week sessions on HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, Bootstrap. Because in every Django developer or web developer must and should aware at least the basics of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, Bootstrap. Then they should know that what are the HTML tags, what are the CSS stylings are there, inline style sheet, internal style sheet, external style sheet, JavaScript functions, how to write JavaScript function, how to inject that functions into our template for making validations. Okay, and how to inject this JavaScript code into our Python logic. So that all you have to know, that jQuery, Bootstrap is the most important for every web developer. So these are all basics which we'll cover after completion of 4 5 demo sessions, 1 week sessions. I'm going to focus on these UI technologies. After that, our real Django will start with MVT pattern, model, view, template. Okay. In the middle, MySQL also I'm going to cover MySQL related stuff. So how to install MySQL, how to configure your Django project with MySQL. But most of the time, whenever I start a Django development process, so SQLite is a built-in database is integrated. For every Django project, there is a built-in database that is called SQLite 3. SQLite 3 is a database actually. Yeah. It is integrated. So for every Django project is completely configured in the settings.py file SQLite 3 only. In case if you don't want to use SQLite 3, you can configure with MySQL, not a problem. MySQL is also one of the commonly used database in Python full stack development. So it doesn't mean that using Django can't we work with Microsoft SQL Server or Oracle, means you can use any database, not a problem. Only the thing is, in the global settings, what database you configured in the project level, that is the matter. If you configure MySQL, then your Django application will run with MySQL database. If you configure SQLite 3, then your Django application will run with SQLite 3. But by default, the moment whenever we start Django development project in PyCharm Professional Editor, and SQLite 3 only integrated. Okay, but most of the tasks we can do with SQLite 3 only. No need to configure MySQL. But I'll show you in our lecture MySQL configuration also, how to perform all the CRUD operations and all. So this is model view template MVT pattern. So view is the main logic, Python logic. Presentation means template. Template means what you are going to see onto the screen. And database related means where we can store the data, from where we can retrieve the data. That is database model action. But for your kind information, model purpose, we need not to create databases and all. We need not to write any queries. Okay. So last week you have installed MySQL, no? That with for our Python. Okay, that's okay for you can continue with them. That's enough. No need to reinstall again. That's enough. So you just keep that side. Okay. In upcoming sessions, we'll see MySQL configuration also with the Django. Not in the initial stage, but later we need to do. But by default, the moment when we create Django project, automatically SQLite 3 is going to be configured. That need not to be work on it, need not to be installed. This is commonly integrated, built-in integration it is. So this is MVT, how that model view template is going to be work, what is the design pattern. This is the flow actually. I'll explain the flow also again once I start development, but just I'm telling you properly here what based on which design pattern through we are going to develop Django application means MVT, model view template. But you may think like that only these three patterns, MVT, model view template. No, other layers also will be come in the middle. Okay, that means not only we are focusing on MVT, other few layers will be there. There are a lot of things are there. URLs will be involved, forms will be involved. Okay, apps will be involved. So every Django project contain multiple apps. Any number of applications we can include, not a problem. So this is the basic story of Django completely. Now let me talk about history of Django. Okay, who developed Django? In which year it is? Completely, I'm going to tell you the history, basic history of Django. Django was designed and developed by Lawrence Journal World in 2003 and publicly released under BSD license. BSD means Berkeley Source Distribution license in July 2005. The original authors of Django are, these are the original authors. Original authors of Django. These are the original authors. Adrian Holowaty and Simon Willison. Okay. And Django was released on 21st July 2005 and its current stable version we have seen in our djangoproject.com official website. Okay. So the official date of birth of Django is 21st July 2005. This is the Django official date of birth. Okay, now it is maintained by DSF, Django Software Foundation. Now it is maintained by DSF, Django Software Foundation. Django Software Foundation like this. Okay, now Django is completely maintained by DSF only. Django also pronounced as Django only, sir, not Django. D is silent. Django also pronounced as Django. So why the name is called Django actually? The authors selected the name Django from a person name. Okay, so Django is a name of George guitarist called Django Reinhardt. So the famous George guitarist is there. That person name it is Django Reinhardt. This is the person. You just go to Google and type Django Reinhardt. So you'll be able to find that person name. Who is that? So he's the person, famous George guitarist. Now you can see Django Reinhardt Wikipedia. So this is he's the person. So he's the person, Romani French jazz musician actually. So the author selected the name for his name. With this name only, they mentioned that framework name called Django. How Python name was derived from a TV show like Monty Python Circus Show. Same like Django also derived from the person name only. So we can call it as Django, or we can also pronounce most of the time Django also. Django means Django. Okay. So what are the basic and important feature and current stable version of Django purpose? What we need, where we need to visit djangoproject.com. So current stable version, look at this. This is the current stable version right now. There are a lot of versions are there. Just a moment, djangoproject.com. But this is the current stable version 4.1.7. But already in my previous lectures, I have included Django installation. Okay. So for my previous batches purpose, do you want to check what version currently you have in your computer right now? Just go to command prompt simply, and there you can type version. Okay. How to Python version, you know that how to type Python space hyphen version. Which version do you have a Python? 3.11.1. Same Django version if you want. Django admin, Django -admin space hyphen version, we can say that. Now you can see we got 4.1.3. When I was started my last batch of Django after 2 months back, so I was installed this 4.1.3 version, but right now you can see currently Django latest version is 4.1.7. So for your project, for your sessions, okay, morning batch 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. Django, I'm going to install this version only, download 4.1.7 only. How to install Django, how to make setup of Django, we'll discuss. Okay, directly we cannot install Django directly because making setup is very, very crucial and important. Django setup and making. So in tomorrow session, that is only I'm going to discuss, sir. Please don't skip tomorrow session at any cost. Okay, if you miss tomorrow session, you will be in big trouble because setup of Django is not simply. So lot of things we have to do. What things I'm going to do, each and every step by step I'm going to discuss in tomorrow session clearly. Right now I'm showing what Django -admin space hyphen version. What version already we have in my computer for the last time when I started batch of Django, that I have installed 4.1.3. But for this batch, latest current stable version only I'm going to install. And to install Django already in your computer, Python should integrate. Python need to be installed. Without Python, we cannot go for Django, as I said that. Okay. And once we complete the demo lectures, and I'm going to share this completed Django documentation, sir. It is completely fully loaded documentation, which we have prepared completely with my own statements, how you received my core and advanced Python PDF, same it look like, and happily you can able to practice it. So while watching this documentation, it is completely around 298 pages documentation is there. It's a big subject. Okay, Django is completely big subject. It's not a simple because it is going to be completely web development process. Once you look into this, what I'm going to cover in Django, features of Django, front-end application, back-end application, steps to set up Django project, HTML basics, CSS, JavaScript, Bootstrap, HTTP request flow diagram in Django application, Django template language is there, DTL, get and post method, DTL language, lot of things. Okay, MBT architecture, model, view, template, ORM, object relational mapper, state management technique like cookies, sessions, session method, cache mechanism. Different types of views also there, class-based views and function-based view, pagination concept, middleware concept, Django signals, model inheritance, model relationships, query set API, okay, query set API field lookups, CRUD operations using MySQL, and these are all direct, what we can say, content we keep. But in each and every content, so internally lot of methods are involved. This is completely 300 pages material almost it is. Okay, installation steps, everything coding also I have included with screenshots. Once you follow this documentation, undoubtedly no one will get any confused. Happily you can able to practice with this. So this I can hand over it to you after 1 or 2 days. Okay, even here more my students only there here. So you have already opted for Python full stack, no worries. You just wait for 2 days. After that, we will hand over it this documentation to you along with proper video. Okay. And tomorrow I'm going to discuss making completely Django setup. And if time possible, I'll start with Django setup. Otherwise, we'll go for again the basics of front-end application means what, back-end application means what, Django features, and everything we will discuss in tomorrow lecture. Okay. So this is just a basic demo session. You can consider in this session, you got just little bit information, what is exactly Django, how it will be, what is MVT pattern, and the basic history of Django here. Okay. So in tomorrow, we'll see same time, 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. And this is about today's session. And apart from my students or and any other students who joined here, any doubts, you can feel free to ask me now. I'll be wait here for you 10 minutes more. So I'll continue from here tomorrow. If you have any question, you can feel free to ask me now. But once you enroll for this course, okay, you will be able to get 3 frameworks completely: Django framework, REST framework, and Flask framework. All 3 frameworks you are going to cover. In Flask, what will cover? What is the need here? Even we have not completed REST API only, then you are asking Flask only. Let me show the Flask what I'm going to cover. This is the Flask content. Flask app routing, URL building, HTTP methods, and Jinja 2 template, Python statements in HTML, Flask static files, request object, cookies, sessions, Flash method, CRUD operation using SQLite, SQL Alchemy, WT forms. These are the Flask. It is a micro framework. It is a lightweight framework. And even in the REST API, you can see this, what I'm going to cover. This REST API is completely powerful. So in REST API, serialization, deserialization, function-based view, class-based view, DRF validation. DRF means Django REST framework or REST API. Generic API view and mixins, concrete view classes, view sets, attributes, model view sets, authentication and permission in DRF, working with session authentication, token authentication, custom authentication, filtering in DRF, and lot of changes: pagination in DRF, throttling in DRF, model serializer, hyperlink model serialization, lot of things. This is almost 131 pages documentation.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did you share us the textbook for the Django
No,
in
right.
Python? I don't.
No,
Okay.
no, no. That was in only Python. You have finished Python. So I was said Python only. Now wait for 2 days. All students will get
Okay.
obviously Django complete soft copy of material and video
Mhm.
lectures also, not a problem. You just wait for 2 days.
Okay. And the second question I have is, after learning the Django,
Hmm.
can I make a simple website for myself? Will I be able to make it?
Obviously. Even in
Okay.
Django, at the end of the session, I'll show you sample website which I created, and you can also practice for that. Some projects we have included in Django.
Okay. Thank you.
Is
That's it.
Django not enough for web development? Do you need Flask also and require? No, no, no. It's enough. Django is enough and REST API is enough. Flask is optional because in real time, Flask is used for generally for microservices creations. Mostly single page applications we can use. Because Flask is a
Okay.
simple logic purpose, we use Flask framework is the best option in internal calling purpose while developing Django application. So that's what Flask is also required. Better to have the idea about Flask. It's a micro
Okay. So
frame.
later on, I'm planning to make my website. So if I have a question, can I ask?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Any questions still? Yes. Please attend regularly at least 2 or 3 days so that you get clarity installation process of Django. And for your kind information, uh, here most of them, all my students, about our editor tool because we use it in core and advanced Python. PyCharm editor we use, but I'm telling you other students, those who are joined for my only exclusive Django REST and Flask framework today, I'm going to use in my sessions, in upcoming sessions also, completely PyCharm professional editor, which I'm going to use for development of Django, REST, Flask, everything. Yes, I'm going to take 1 hour session exactly. More than that, not possible because every 1 hour I have a sessions. So 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. exactly time is fixed. This will be continue till the last session of your Flask project, Flask application. 3 frameworks I'm going to cover. Okay. Yes. Along with 3 PDFs, Django framework PDF, REST API PDF, Flask PDF, along with proper videos recording, your session recorded videos. I'll upload to your Google Drive. Videos are lifetime accessible. Yes, yes. 2-3 projects I'm going to explain at the end of the Django sessions. No, so Jupyter is not. Yes, we recommend Jupyter for Python. Yes, we have written some code also Python Jupyter, that's possible, but we are not going to recommend Jupyter for web development of Django, because you have to manually integrate it with this Django framework over there, and you have to build it. Okay, either you can go for PyCharm professional editor, or you can go for Edit Place, or Jupyter also possible, but you have to integrate lot of files hierarchy. Or else you can go for VS Code better. Visual Studio Code is the best option. If you are not able to go with PyCharm professional editor, I recommend Visual Studio Code is the best option. Yes. So that's what I'm saying, that we please attend continuously tomorrow and after tomorrow, so that you will get clarity how I'm going to making setup of Django with PyCharm. PyCharm is very simple and easy to manage your Django project. That's what I recommend. Even here, my students very well, they know about PyCharm, which I conducted all Python sessions for them with PyCharm or PyCharm editor only. But PyCharm community, we were used, but from tomorrow onwards, I'm going to use PyCharm professional for Django project. Okay. So that's all for today. So have a nice time. See you tomorrow again on same link at 6:30 a.m. So we'll see you. We'll continue from here.
Thank you.